Too late. Didn't get my chance. Bugger.
Sorry.
What words of wisdom did we miss then, Tony?
You missed the words wisdom that you need to make it short and snappy and not 300 pages, Rumpus. So
hey, the best words of wisdom ever out of this whole hangout.
We need a 2-minute spot is gone. The abbreviated summary.
The best words that came out of this entire hangout was whoop-de-doo, poop-de-doo. Right, Pip?
That's it. Whoop-de-doo, poop-de-doo.
That about sums her up right there. The whole damn shebang gets summed up.
Right, I've got you running for about half an hour, guys. I'll catch you in about half an hour-ish.
Don't leave me. Behave. Don't leave me. What about the children?
Just half an hour, promise. See you in a bit.
Yup. Hey, Volt.
Yeah, Q needed to be a little bit less defensive about. I mean, if I had watched a video and was repeating it, and someone had said defend this, I'd be saying, oh well, I only know this from this video. That's my only source. So yes, I mean, and then leave it at that. But she was making more.
When the whole conversation started, I was legitimately interested in actually seeing what she had learned, because I was legitimately, inquisitive about it. I wanted to learn more, and what having I was learning contradicted her story.
And having been a beekeeper, I was interested as well.
Oh, right. Oh, well done. Well done, unpaid shills. Good stuff.
It's just like Sean Hufford came in to correct me on a mistake I'd made. I welcomed it.
Yeah, you've got to develop. The only way you can't be right about everything, although you can be very close to being right, but you always there's the opportunity to learn something is good, and to be self-critical. And being self-critical is very important. So Q's being, instead of thinking, could I be wrong, is thinking, no, I don't like being criticized.
I went so far as to thank him publicly for correcting me.
Yeah, it's when you make a mistake, for instance, when you're playing chess, you generally only learn things by making mistakes and being punished for it. That's
could apply to us all, though, Rumpus. Yeah, could apply to us all, including me. And I know you're always right, so it probably doesn't apply.
Well, yes, but I've done that, Tony, because I've been very critical of myself.
Right. So okay, fantastic.
It's only a result of a process of challenging myself all the time and saying,
let me actually address something. Let me actually address something that was said. Let me actually address Q's little retort about me being afraid of women with real women with real tits.
Oh, well, that would go. Oh God.
Am I afraid of real women with real tits?
Oh, I didn't realize that was what she was doing. Oh Jesus!
I didn't like hearing it going down that road, Sean.
Oh, Q, that was uncalled for. Yeah.
It's funny because I was attacking her arguments. Yes, I called her conspiracy theorist because it was down the conspiracy theorist path of finding information and running with it, whether it's true or not. So then she decides to make it into a gender issue.
So I think the trouble is, Sean. So here's my take for what it's worth. Yeah, as I say, pressing it for what it's worth. I think she probably slightly sensationalized. She sort of did what in the UK we have red top papers, right? So like the Sun newspaper, yeah. So she kind of slightly red topped it. These people are going to die from it, whatever. Sort of probably overblew it a bit.
Yeah, what type of YouTube show was she reciting in the first place?
It was a Netflix. It was a Netflix documentary.
So I think she overrated it.
That says a lot.
And then I think you applied your standard go after a flat earther or conspiracy person, like dog with a bone to it, yeah. And then she felt under attack. So I think that's where the two sides didn't.
Well, I was on the attack of her argument.
Yeah, I know, but she felt then personally under attack. Obviously, didn't she? Yeah.
Well, he didn't personalise it. I thought Sean did a very good job actually just sticking to the point.
But, she took it personal. That is not Sean's fault. That's her fault.
But I guess, when I heard she said, "I don't know, whatever, it's killing people, this honey," I just sort of put that down to, well, it probably isn't. I eat honey quite a lot. It's never killed me yet. This is probably overblown a bit. And I guess,
you'd be right.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the place to share that information isn't in a hangout of skeptics, right? You're probably walking into a room.
You can back it up.
Well,
that's all I was wanting was her to actually cite sources that backed up her argument.
Yeah, but I think it was probably something that got blown a little bit out of the proportion. She probably didn't come in meaning to talk about necessarily honey. She's obviously very worked up about environmental things, isn't she, at the moment? And it's in the news,
look,
right?
If you come in with something like that and you say something's killing people, and that's something we all eat, that you think, hold on, we need this is quite important. So it's exactly the place to raise it. The place to raise something important is a thing of skeptics to see if you're right or not, if you're not prepared to.
Well, I guess I wouldn't have done it like that. I might have had a few more facts if I was going to raise it in this group.
Exactly, but that's
said,
what Sean's complaining about.
Yeah, I watched this
Right.
video the other day, and it said that blah 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 has such and such an effect. What do people think of that? Because that's quite scary or whatever.
Well,
Yes.
just to bring this into perspective, just to bring it into perspective, when she first started talking, she literally tried to gaslight by saying paper or plastic. That's an actual valid argument because plastic does take forever to biodegrade.
But the whole thing could have gone away if she had just said, when she was corrected, if she had just said, "Oh, I was wrong, sorry," instead of digging
or more into it and actually use more than one source.
Yeah, well, and
Right.
say I heard this on a Netflix documentary and left it at that, and then in other words, shunned the responsibility and said, "Look, well, I don't know this. I'm just repeating something that was I thought was interesting for a Netflix documentary, and I know nothing more than that." And that would have been a perfectly fine thing to do.
Well, isn't the disclaimer to say, well, I haven't verified this, but, and then,
Well, I would
then
have
state
accepted that too. But she started out making the claims that honey's killing people. And the whole Netflix thing didn't come in until after I debunked 2 of her sources.
I mean, I
Well,
think she was trying to
In side chat, she put up 3 more links, and I went and looked at those 3 links, and I took some excerpts. The first one says that in other cases, cheap honey of dubious pedigree might be imported from China, although its country of origin has been obscured. The illegal practice led to the 2013 Honeygate scandal, in which 2 U.S. honey producers were charged with federal crimes for importing misdeclared Chinese product. The Chinese honey could potentially contain harmful antibiotics that are given to bees to prevent colony collapse. Honey, I think the name is pronounced, which I think is ironic, recommends buying products with a label containing certification from true source. Now, this person that they mentioned, Haugheny, Honey, I think is how it would be pronounced, is the person that produces this series on Netflix that she was talking about.
Oh my God.
The second source she mentioned, I pulled this excerpt. The boy died from infant botulism, an illness that can strike when a baby ingests bacteria such as that in honey. The third one was, in the UK, there have been 6 cases of botulism, none of which implicated British honey.
So the sources again she's citing don't agree with her argument.
So
Well, obviously,
that's a very important point. The people who made the bloody documentary are related to the product that got criticised.
So as I was going to say, I think there is a piece here about a narrative which she picked up on because she's obviously closely aligned to it, right? About men sort of raping and destroying the planet, that kind of thing. I think there's the point about honey does carry, in some cases, botulism, and that does absolutely kill people, is fatal, but that isn't related to, I guess, anything that's being put into the honey. So again, I think 2 things have been a little bit conflated, which is why it's always worth finding out what the actual real facts are. But I think it was the narrative that she came in with of, she was talking about other things, wasn't she? Ecological.
It started out with melamine.
Men are very greedy. Yeah.
Well, no, it started out with how did she? I actually had her spell it when it started out with a C.
Yeah, sea fishing. We take fish out of the sea and then we try to put them in jars.
Chlorapamine or something like that.
Chlorum phenol is what she first said it was. So I looked that up, and it's not used in honey. So then I actually went looking further, and when I actually went to her article that she provided, it actually listed it off as that melanine or whatever it is. There's a ceramic product that actually does have antibiotic properties. And even that article didn't agree with what you were saying.
Melamine with an M is used to boost reports of how much protein is in something. That's why it's occasionally added to dog and cat foods. But it's also...
How did you find out that the documentary was made by people, these Hooney people who were prosecuted for importing this dodgy honey?
She gave the name of the series. It's called Rotten. So I looked up Rotten on Netflix, and it gave that name as the producer, or I think it was either producer or director. I don't recall exactly.
Right, yeah.
So then I Googled her name, and then all of a sudden it all starts falling into place.
Yeah, well done, Unpaid Shills. Good effort, very good effort.
But when she started talking about melamine being in it, I looked at melamine. I Googled melamine honey, and then I ran across a National Institute of Health article where they use honey to treat melamine poisoning.
So she was thinking that melamine was a contaminant in honey, but in fact, it comes from the fact that honey was used to treat melamine conditions. Is that right?
I have no clue. All I know is that it was a bunch of reactionary, unresearched information.
Yeah,
I think the point is she'd seen a documentary. Of course, on Netflix they make a lot of these environmentally focused documentaries, and there's a lot of people out there. It's like the whole Al Gore, political documentaries, right? Some of it is factual, and then some of it is just political, really. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that around at the moment with the environment. Do you see what I mean? And they play on emotions, but that's what people want to see, which is why they're making documentaries on Netflix, I guess.
There are people, unfortunately, who are obsessed with environmental issues and the fact that man's ruining the planet and we're eating anything you eat has been contaminated by artificial vitamins and God knows what. Unfortunately, these people are hysterical about it.
Did you say vitamins?
Yeah, well, they if you artificially, a lot of the E numbers, for instance, a lot of those are vitamins. And if the
I thought it was vitamins.
That's
vitamins. Vitamins.
Vitamins. Something like vitamin A.
I'll translate for the Americans.
Vitamin A, for instance. All right, thanks. Vitamin A, for instance, will kill you in excess. If you, for instance, don't eat a polar bear's liver.
Are those vitamins, or is that vitamins?
Vitamins.
If you ever come and have cause to eat a polar bear, avoid its liver because it's got so much vitamin A in it, it will kill you.
What animal is that?
Polar bear. Don't eat its liver. It's full of vitamin A, and the concentration is such that it will kill you.
So if you're in the Arctic and you shoot one and you have to skin it, don't eat its liver. Too much vitamin A. It's quite a fact, isn't it?
Or if you just happen to tackle one in the zoo and chew its throat open, don't
go chewing that liver in there. Yeah.
I mean, he's got many ways to kill you, I guess, if you did stumble across it in the Arctic.
Yeah, it's throwing itself. Yeah, so for instance, the bear comes along, throws itself at you suspiciously, and exposes its liver. There's a reason for that.
Well, he might kill you with his bare hands.
What if it was a drop bear?
No. What bear?
Drop bear. The ones that come out of the tree and drop on top of you.
A drop bear? That's called a
Yeah, they're in Australia, aren't they, these drop bears? I'm sure I
heard
about well known, the infamous lethal, those drop bears.
And the infamous funnel web koalas.
Oh, yeah.
It's not infamous, it's infamous.
Sean, I've put a link in the side chat for you.
All right, give me a second.
There is unfortunately a population of hysterical environmentalists who are always looking for some scare story about how we're killing ourselves with foods and how foods are not as bare and natural as they should be. And of course, many of them are incredibly poisonous, and naturally occurring stuff will kill you.
You've been Google fooling again, Peter?
I did it earlier, but he didn't see me when I posted it earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt the conversation that was going on.
What are you posting, Pete?
Oh, it's a.
Do we have to click on something, or will it come up on the main screen?
Look, no, you'd have to click on it unless I have to share. But it goes in through the National Medicine or National Medicines and Institute of Health, and it actually goes into all the antibiotics, pesticides, microbiology, contaminants of honey, human health and hazards. It goes through many pesticides and contaminants that are in honey.
I'm actually reading
Yeah, it goes right down into the antibiotics that are in honey naturally, and additional ones that can be found in honey.
Who compiled the information?
It's what she should have looked at before she made the statement, basically.
Yes, I mean they even use honey, I think, as a treatment for severe wounds.
Yes,
yeah.
Actually, World War II, they actually used honey whenever a soldier got a open cut wound as an antibiotic. They also used it, I believe, in the Civil War.
Yes.
Hang on,
Also
guys.
use spiders' webs as well on wounds. It's very, very good actually. Yeah, for helping to fix wounds. Spiders' webs. I mean, I know that sounds odd, but
talking about the antibiotic properties here, and the fact that the honey does have antibiotic properties.
You just got to flick the spiders out first.
Yes, I'm interested. So this Chinese thing, they were using these antibiotics that, presumably, we've got problems in this country where bees and things, hives are being destroyed, and interesting that
they're being destroyed by varroa though, which is an insect mite that gets onto
Yes,
the bees and then spreads amongst the wild bees, and then it gets passed into the cultured bees, as it were. Yeah.
And there's also a chemical a pesticide or something that's believed to be affecting them and making them wander around right in a rather strange way. And we're not quite sure whether it's an EU and ourselves are not. The British thing, they're not quite sure. There are various studies which suggest one is actually causing infection and the other one saying it's not.
Well, once we get Brexit, we can go our own way, can't we?
Exactly right. Yeah.
It won't be long now, will it, Rumpus?
Hang on, guys.
Now, will it?
Terry, are you there?
Well, apparently Johnson's got a way of getting out of here and avoiding.
So he says. When I saw him the other day, he didn't look that sure. He looked very harassed when I saw him.
In the House of Commons, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was specifically asked for the 6th time, are you going to sign that letter to the EU?
Right, I've had to mute Rumpus and Toady because I need to say something and nobody's listening to me.
And
Terry, are you still there?
Yeah, I was taking me drinking me coffee, and I'm waiting for the rest of it.
Exactly.
Terry, for some reason,
someone muted me there.
Hey, God's sake, will you let me finish?
No, don't say it
Rumpus,
all over again. Just
shut the bloody hell up.
Boris Johnson declared he was not going to write that letter for asking for an extension from the EU. Yet there is a law in place.
Right, Terry, you there?
You're doing it again, Rumpus.
Who's doing that?
Doing it again,
Me!
Rumpus. Stop doing that.
Alan, why are you muting me?
Because you won't shut up and let me talk.
Could you stop it, please?
No.
I don't think he's doing it. I don't think anybody's doing it.
At the keyboard.
Well, I'm definitely
doing
not doing
it
it, Rumpus,
so I
because
can
like
try
to
and
go on about.
Yes, Alan Evans is muting
you.
you.
Keep on muting me.
How can you tell
I
who
know.
it is?
It's telling
Can you
me.
not hear me?
It tells you.
It's telling me here.
Bloody hell, somebody's now
test and see.
muted me. Somebody muted me as well. I'm trying to talk to you and everybody's ignoring me because somebody muted me at some point. Could have even been me. It could have even been me, but my problem is that the stream...
You're trying to unmute yourself. You muted Rumpus in the process.
No, I was muting Rumpus because nobody was listening to me because I was...
Oh, thanks.
I thought I was...
We couldn't hear you.
Yeah, well...
Thanks, Alan.
You wouldn't shut up.
Just talking, nobody can hear you.
Alan, when have I ever just refused to listen to you?
Yeah, all right. Hang on.
Naughty, I think.
Yes, I apologise, Rumpus, but it's like I'm being hassled from people in the house who insist on having my attention when I don't want to give it to them because I'm trying to give it to the internet.
Are you talking to retards?
Well,
yes.
Well, could you not do reaction to these people not be just to mute me as a
No. I need to talk to Terry. Terry,
Yeah,
could you take over
I'm here.
Can you take
I'll
over
get a
the
word
stream
inside.
because
I'll get a word in sideways.
Could you please take over the stream because everything's gone bad because everybody's buffering, including the side chat. And,
okay then. I can wing it. I can either wing it straight from this, or they can just
wing
come
it
into
straight from
another hangout.
Ask the panel what they think. At the moment, I seem to have no internet because
ideally wing it if I were you, Terry.
Yeah, wing it, Terry.
I think your system got a Rumpus overload.
We've had a storm here, so I have a nasty feeling that although it hasn't affected me here, it's screwing with my output to YouTube.
So I can use this. Yeah,
and we're still waiting for Rumpus to complete his sentence as well. I'm still looking forward to what that is.
And I'm sorry for muting Rumpus when he seemed to be ignoring me because there's so many places to be muted.
Well, I've never.
So I can just yeah, Lumpus, wait a minute, Alan, quickly. If I just go straight into my channel, I can just open up the YouTube and just allow this to stream straight from YouTube.
Straight from the meet window. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I know what to do. Thank you. Just everyone go over to my channel and we'll work.
Well, yeah, and everybody, you'll have to post the link to the new.
So post the link before we. Post the link, Terry. Otherwise,
Terry, start setting it up, and I'll transfer the link over so that everyone can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be your standard streaming link anyway.
Okay then.
So it's not going to be a new link. Some magic's going to happen, and we're going to end up in a new place.
You just say where you are.
Yeah,
I love technology.
Just as happens when I take over from Jose, Terry's going to take over from me.
Brilliant. Okay.
But my output to YouTube has gone insane. So I have no idea what's caused it.
Electron fairies.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame John DeLance.
I'll blame Canada.
I'm going to blame the EU.
Yeah,
I'm going to blame
the
EU.
EU.
Did nobody get the joke?
I missed it.
I got it. John DeLance. Q.
As Q Canadian, I thought she was in New York.
What was that, Rumpus?
I thought Q was from New York, not Canadian. I thought. Sorry, are you saying you're blaming Q? And it was an oblique reference to Q? Are you saying?
Yes.
Yes, John DeLance is the actor who played Q in Star Trek.
I never really watched it that much, so I don't know.
He was Canadian, was he? Okay. Oh.
Yes. John DeLance played Q on Star Trek.
Okay, I don't know.
So yes, it was a very subtle joke.
Right.